transition metals. Transition metals are found in the middle of the periodic table between groups 2 and 3. Relative to alkali metals, transition metals have higher melting points. And so, for example, iron's melting point is 1,585 degrees centigrade, whereas sodium's melting point is about 98 degrees. And the higher melting point make them useful for some things like cooking equipment. They're also less reactive, so compared to alkali metals. So, for example, iron takes weeks to rust when in contact with oxygen and water, whereas sodium will do it in a few seconds. They're also stronger and harder than alkaline metals. And they've got higher density. So the transition metals have more mass for the same volume than alkaline metals. And this high density makes them useful for construction. So just to recap that, which of the following are transition metals? So the first one is iron, titanium is also a transition metal, and cobalt is a transition metal. So, which element is not a transition metal? Well, iron is a transition metal, copper is a transition metal, zinc is a transition metal, oxygen is not. And remember, the few properties of transition metals compared to alkali metals is that they have higher melting points, greater strength, higher density, and lower reactivity. Because of their unique position in the periodic table, transition metals have some special properties that make them very useful for chemists. So the first property that makes them useful is that they can form ions with different positive charges. So for example, iron produces Fe2+ ions and also Fe3+ ions. And another one would be copper. Copper produces Cu+ ions and Cu2+ ions. They can also form different color compounds. So for example, copper 1 sulfate is white, but copper 2 sulfate is blue. And when I say copper 1, what I mean is that in that compound, it's Cu+, and copper 2 just means it's Cu2+. So, for example, iron can be used in the Haber process to make ammonia, and platinum and rhodium can be used as in catalytic converters in cars. Bit of a tongue teaser, that one. So, remember, transition metals can form ions with different positive charges. For example, Fe2+, Fe3+, Cu+, and Cu2+. And some examples of transition metal catalysts are iron, which can be used in the Haber process to make ammonia, and titanium, and platinum, and rhodium, which can be used for catalytic converters in cars. So compared to alkaline metals, the melting points of transition metals are usually much higher. And some special properties of transition metals, just to go through them again. Often they're used as catalysts. They can form ions with different positive charges. They can form different color compounds.